Brother Jamal, should we get started?
We should get started, yes.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Ooh, it's like a food coma. Like you guys ate too much. Everything's all right? All right, everyone good? Good, good, good. My name is Jamal Zahin. I am the outreach manager here at the Islamic Institute of Orange County. Just want to welcome everybody here, those that have been here before and those that might be here for the first time. We welcome you. We thank you for taking time out and joining us. As we do every Sunday, we have a kind of like an Islam 101 basics of what Islam is all about class. This class, as you guys know, just as a review from myself and everyone here, it's more informative based. We just want to make sure that we can inform people about what the message of Islam is, different aspects of the message of Islam, and going into different topics as well as best as possible. We try to bring different speakers to come as well and just to kind of share their knowledge about the topic at hand as well. So today it's we're very honored as well. We have Brother Adam, no pressure. Brother Adam's helping us. He's been part of the IIOC Mosque for a number of years. He's helping us tremendously in our youth department and kind of restructuring and helping us with that. So we really appreciate that, Adam. So without further ado, what I would like to do is pass it on to Brother Adam. Adam's going to go ahead and talk about the session at hand. He's going to elaborate on it as well. And also, I think we have a chance for maybe Q&A at the end based on the topic. So if you folks have any questions regarding the topic at hand, just let us know. Pass the mic around, and we'd love to hear from you folks. Sounds good? All right. So Brother Adam, pass that right along to you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, of course, means may the peace and blessings be upon you. Hakim, if we can get that image off. Thank you very much. So how's everybody doing today? Viva la France, huh? Who saw the game? Who wanted Croatia to win? Yeah. France won it 20 years ago, huh? So we wanted some new people. Parlez-vous français, anybody? Oh, okay. We got one person who speaks French. Congratulations on the win. We have some guests here. So this center that we're at is actually the campus for the California Islamic University. We are part of the Islamic Institute of Orange County, which is a very prominent mosque based here in North Orange County. So our mosque is actually right off of State College in 91. Where you guys are today, because I know there's some guests, we're actually at the university campus. It's called the California Islamic University, and what it does is it offers essentially higher academic courses in Islamic studies. So this is one of our new sites. We acquired this property, I think about a year and a half ago. So welcome to it. And I think for many of you, this is maybe your first time coming to some sort of Muslim mosque / being around so many Muslims. Or have you guys been to a mosque before? No? You've been? Okay. So I think there's 4 of you and then some of your leaders. You guys are from a local community organization. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. As Jamal mentioned, this is just something that we do on Sundays for our community members that wanted sort of a refresh course on some of the basic essentials about Islam and the Muslim faith. So don't be afraid of us. We're very nice people. We watched the World Cup just like many of you guys did as well, but we're very happy to have you guys here. Do you guys mind introducing yourself? Maybe something cool, your name and where you guys live, or if you want to share your age or your grade or something that. Is that really cool?
Yeah. My name's Shalia. I'm 16. I go to Rosary Academy.
Okay.
And I play basketball.
Okay. Cool.
My name is Irene. I'm 14. I go to Rosary Academy and I like to dance.
Okay.
My name is Kim. I'm 14. I go to Rosary Academy and I like to play sport.
My name's Kelsey. I'm 14. I will be attending Rosary Academy and I am trying out for baseball.
Cool. So we have 4 new people and then your respective leaders as well. Do you guys mind just introducing yourselves? We usually do that whenever there's new people here. It's not because of anything specific, but anytime there's new faces, we have them introduce themselves. Okay. Oh, sorry.
I'm Layla. I'm 11. I live in Arizona. I'm getting a cockatiel. Heard of those birds?
Yeah. Long tails?
Yeah.
Nice. My wife's name is Layla, so we're already off on the good foot here. And then, are you as well?
Yeah. So my name is Farah and I'm part of the community here, so I brought
Okay. Farah al-Abudi.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So we're part of Boys Hope Girls Hope, which is a nonprofit in academic scholarship, and these are four of our scholars. And I'm an academic counselor. Sorry, that's random. I'm sorry. I'm a residential counselor.
You just tried to take her position? That was an attempted coup.
Well, I'm Brandy. I thought I was the academic counselor for the Girls Club, but apparently that's Farah, so that's a relief for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and chill here. No, I worked with Boys of Girls Club for 5 years, and I've had the privilege of working with these girls for 1 to 3 years.
Nice.
I'm Astera, and I've also had the privilege of working with the kids as well as the wonderful staff. I'm the house manager over at the Gross Hope home, and it's a pleasure being here today.
Nice. Thanks for coming.
I'm Chelsea. I'm also one of the residential counselors at Boys Hope Girls Hope. I'm fairly new to the organization, but loving it so far, so happy to be here as well.
Well, welcome on behalf of the organization. I'm sure that they would have said that, but well, thanks for coming out today. It's nice to have you guys here. I think I've taught this class maybe 3 or 4 times, and this is probably the most number of guests that I've seen personally. So, have you guys been to a mosque before? The leaders? Your first time as well? Okay. Technically, this is not a mosque, I guess. We got to get them to a mosque, but this is our campus. Cool. So what we'll do is maybe we'll just jump into some of the things that we've discussed in the past. I know that some of you guys already attended this what's called Iman Nourishment Series, something that I like to do. Iman is an Arabic term. It's widely used, and it essentially means faith. So this is called Faith Nourishment Series. And as you guys know, and obviously because we have so many guests, I'll try to translate the words, and I won't be using as many Arabic words. And maybe for some of the Muslims that are here, I'll just be translating a lot of stuff. Are you new here as well? Yeah. Were you guys trying to part of your guys' group or no? Oh. Oh, okay. Can you introduce yourself? You're kind of hiding, man. Okay. Wait, where'd you come from? Which area? Okay. We have another Arizona person here. You just came from Arizona, right? What was that? That was you? So, okay, my apologies. I thought they were part of it. You don't go to Rosary. No, okay. They go to Rosary. You play basketball? How do you feel about LeBron joining the Lakers here? What if I told you guys that LeBron James was in the house right now? You guys would call me a liar, right? That's why I wouldn't say it. Um, cool. Walid? Okay, nice to meet you guys. Are you guys, so you guys are visiting California? Now, last week it was like 115 degrees here. So, are you guys part of Phoenix or what city in Arizona? Okay. Well, the suns are looking good this year, right? Okay, we'll figure it out. So, Iman means faith. So, we do a faith nourishment series. We believe as Muslims, of course, as that we always have to renew our faith because we get caught up with um, the realities of life. You know, as we discussed last time, we get busy with work and we get busy with family and just the day-to-day tasks, and sometimes we have to stop and reflect upon the fact that we believe that we were created by God and that we should be having a relationship with God. So it's a very foundational element in our faith, and that is to always remind ourselves as to who we are and our relationship with our Lord. So what I was thinking about doing, because we have a lot of new people, I'm just going to really go fast over the things that we covered in the previous 2 sessions, and I hope you guys don't mind for the ones that attended those sessions before. If you do mind, please talk to Brother Jamel after the session, and then hopefully we can keep this fluid, meaning if there's any questions or comments that we want to make, just raise your hand. Let's make this a session where we could all learn from each other and maybe share some reflections. So we don't want to make this like a classroom setting, because as you guys that go to Rosary, classroom is during Monday through Friday, so we don't want to make this an academic exercise. All right. So the first time we talked about a quintessential element of Islam is, of course, the concept that there is one God. This is the most important foundational information slash knowledge that anybody that wants to learn about Islam recognizes. And in understanding this, the question is, how does one become closer to God? And what we talked about in the first session was that through this concept in Arabic called shukr, it's a multifaceted concept, and it's related to thanking God, so having that relationship where we actually are thankful for those things that God has provided us. Number two is having gratitude towards others and having this relationship with others, being very thankful of their services and people that help us in any way, shape, or form, whether it's family or our guardians or people in the community that are beneficial. And then number three, which was the focus for that session, was really this concept of acknowledgement. For the Muslim, it's very important that there's always a constant state of awareness that we're acknowledging who God is, and that it is through God's wisdom that things happen. It is through God's power that things occur, and it's through God's mercy and grace, of course, that we have the things that we have. So when the Muslim always thinks about our Lord, the Prophet Muhammad, who the Muslims believe was the final prophet in the list of prophets. Muslims, as we may know, believe in a long list of prophets, starting with Adam and Noah and Moses and Abraham. We believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet. Moses, Jacob, Joseph. Muslims believe that these are all prophets that came with a message from God to teach humanity how to live a life based on what God prescribed for them. And many of these prophets, as we know, came with books, So we believe that Moses had, for example, the Torah, and that we believe that Jesus came with the Bible. And we believe that the last prophet, his name was Muhammad, he came with a book called the Quran. And everything that these prophets have in common is that they came with this message that there's one God, that we should worship this one God alone and follow his commandments so that we can live a life that is just for everybody that's there. And one of the advices that the Prophet Muhammad gave us, and this is what's called a hadith, meaning a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, is he told us, do not think about God as a creation, but think about the creations of God. It's kind of a play on words, but do not think about God as a creation, but think about the creation of God, right? So one of the ways that Muslims feel that we can get closer to God is very simply through reflecting upon his creation. Sometimes it's hard to talk to people about God because we live in a world where we want everything defined. If you want to learn about something, usually you go to youtube.com, you type in, how to fix your, air conditioner in your car or something, right? And you look it up, you find pictures, you're able to really grasp it that way. And from there, you move forward and you do it. So when people talk about God, usually it becomes a challenge because like, well, I can't see God. So how do we know that he exists, right? Or I'm not able to understand what God looks like. And so what happens with the person is they start to get, troubled by that because we're built in a way to understand things based on looking at them, right? So from our perspective, from the Muslim perspective at least, our view is, well, let's look around us and reflect upon those things that exist. Through that, we'll be able to understand that there is a creator, And I understand that in the academic world, at school, I'm not sure if teaching about creation is allowed. So again, this is from the Muslim perspective. We want to make that clear, that we believe, of course, that there is a creator and that we are a creation. So reflecting upon the creation of God for us is one way that we get closer to our Lord. Because we ask ourselves, where did all of this come from? Did it come from nothing? Was it a coincidence? What is the process that these things came about? And that's how a Muslim gets close to God. What we did a couple sessions ago is we actually went through some of those main creations. So Muslims believe that the sun and the moon are creations from God. They believe that anything that essentially is in this world was a creation from God. And we talked about how a Muslim reflects upon the sun and the moon. We talked about the benefits. You guys remember some of the benefits of the sun and the moon? What are some of the benefits of the sun? Warmth. The sun provides warmth, and through warmth provides, of course, light as well, right? And throughout the Quran, this book of the Muslims, there are many references specifically to the sun and the moon and how God allowed us to have these creations in order to live a stable life, one that is that consists of days and months, down to the very details. Where did this type of organization come from? We believe that it came from someone that organized it. We believe that God is the one that actually created this for our organization. Without a sun and a moon and the consistent orbit of them, life would be very chaotic. We wouldn't know when the day started or when the day ended, and we wouldn't be able to organize our lives, right? What are some benefits of the moon, for example? Light, right? So we believe that the moon provides light at night. So it's used as there's a very functional benefit from it. And also, of course, most of us, if we don't work what's called like the graveyard shift, we sleep at night. And there's a certain serenity, there's a certain peacefulness that comes from nighttime in general. And that's not a coincidence. There's a reason why at nighttime we're a little bit more relaxed and calm, and we're able to sleep. And of course, nowadays, with these guys, and with these guys here in front of me, most people are in front of their laptops. And what's funny is if you look at studies, looking at your screen before you sleep has some negative effects. I'm not someone that is an expert in this field. We can look that up. But it's actually not very natural to be exposed to so much light right before you sleep. And that we can say that is connected to the benefit of having, of course, a moon and a sun. We talked about the night and the day, as we mentioned, the fact that scheduling takes place. We're able to understand this world and have night and day. And that if we lived in a place that was day all the time, it would be difficult. And there's evidence of this, as we know, in the northern parts of the world. That's the case, right? So they have the number of hours for the sunlight is a lot, so it's very difficult for them to function. That's why not that many people probably live there. What are some of the functions of the stars? Navigation, right? That's a big deal. I mean, literally 80 years ago, before the advent of GPS, what were people doing to find out how to get home? They'd literally look up and say, okay, the star's there, so my house is that way. And they would go. So today the difference is instead of looking up, we look down. And unfortunately, when that happens, thank you very much, Brother Jamal. When that happens, we lose a connection. So we make a Wi-Fi connection. That doesn't make sense. But we make a connection with our phone, and we lose the connection with, from our perspective, the creator of the stars. Back in those days, again, all of humanity up to 60 years ago, people would look in the sky and they'd say, okay, where's my home? They look at the star, and then they'd have a relationship with the creator. They'd say, thank God that I was able to use this star for the benefit of going. So something as simple as that being away from our life has an impact. It really does. Now we say thanks to Steve Jobs whenever we open, maps. That's who we're thanking, Steve Jobs. And we used to thank the creator before that, right? The oceans and the seas. What are some of the benefits of the oceans and the seas? Yep. Absolutely. There's a source of food. And we don't, as Muslims, we don't believe that this is a coincidence. We don't believe that a source of food in the sea is a coincidence for us. We believe that this was, a plan that was ordained by the Creator. What are some other benefits of the oceans and the seas? You guys like to go swimming? Get to go swimming, right? There's recreation in that. We can say that that's a benefit. You guys ever been snorkeling? What's cooler than snorkeling? Who's been snorkeling here? Isn't it amazing? Right? I mean, it's just a whole nother world, and it has its own ecosystems functioning. Our perspective is who created that world, right? You guys ever been scuba diving? Nice. I was certified recently. I was terrified, though. I was 60 feet under, and part of the test to get your certification, so when you guys go scuba diving, you're wearing goggles, right? And you have a respirator. And so in order to get certified, they have to prepare you for extreme moments. So imagine you're scuba diving 60 feet under. 60 feet is the equivalent of 6 stories. So imagine a 6-story building, but flip it upside down. So we're deep. And so what the instructor makes you do, number one, is he makes you take off your mask so you can't see. And he makes you put it back on so that you can blow the water out of it and see again. He's testing how you'll do under pressure. No pun intended. The other thing he makes you do is he makes you lose your respirator so that you can't breathe. As a scuba diver, you have two things coming out of your tank. You have one for you, and you have a backup for your friend, because when you scuba dive, you always have to be with a partner. Just in case your air runs out, you can take their air. So what they would do is they would push the respirator away from us. Now we can't breathe, and we have to be able to grab it back on, put it in our mouth. And of course, they're there to help us in case anything goes wrong. But it's really intense. And honestly, being underwater is a very spiritual experience, because I don't think humans were built to be underwater. It's very intense. It's just different. And I was reading some articles later, and I learned that people that have anxiety and depression, they would actually encourage them to go scuba diving, because being in this different space really alters their senses and it calms them down. I don't work for any scuba diving companies or anything like that, so I'm not getting commission for that. But being underwater was very spiritual, and from my perspective at least, different animals, different fish, wow, who created this environment? What are some other benefits of oceans and seas? It's like a big benefit that's obvious. What'd you say? Yeah. Yeah, like how did people get around before flights? So I think when was the airplane invented? 100 years ago, let's say? Early 1900s? So how did people get around before that? They just got on their mules and, swam on their mules across the ocean? They got on boats, right? They got on boats. And so until today, commercial shipping is extremely important. The oceans and the seas are of immense benefit and importance to the human race. And we praise God for that. And what about in us? How about in the human faculty? Humans are different than animals. If animals and humans were the same, then animals would be having some nice cities around us. Like there'd be like a leopard city, there'd be like a bear city somewhere where we're competing with each other. Maybe they'd have their own like basketball league or football. You'd have like the Bears against the Lions. That doesn't happen, right? Is there such thing as the Bears against the Lions? Yes, there is. But they're not real bears or real lions, right? Or you have like the Pelicans against the Hawks. Will that stuff exist? Is there such thing as a pelican playing a hawk? Yes, there is. The Atlanta Hawks versus the New Orleans Pelicans, right? But they're not real pelicans. These are human beings wearing a pelican on their jersey. So animals haven't changed. I mean, they evolved, but they haven't really. I mean, we can make fun of them. They haven't done much since they, have been in existence. Lizards have been around forever, but what have they accomplished? Every day they do the same thing. They go in their holes, they come out, they look for food, they go back to sleep, and they get killed or they get eaten. Birds, same thing. What have they done? We look at them and we scoff, right? Who are you animals? I'm just joking. I'm joking. We don't scoff at them. Um, that's meant to be a reflection of the intellect and the rationale of the human being. The human being is a miracle in and of himself. The ability for us to evolve socially, economically, technologically. How is this possible? And it's amazing it's beautiful how human beings build upon each other. So our generation, so we live right now in 2018. We have built ourselves upon those that lived before us, and we pray for them. That's something that Muslims do too. Is for those that have passed away, we pray that God has mercy upon them and enters them into paradise, and we thank them for the things that they did that made our life easier. 100, 200 years ago, people are living in tents. They don't have running water. Nowadays, if we don't have running water for an hour, we panic. We're not able to function with that. So in ourselves, we believe that we are also a miracle of God. How about our emotions as well? You think about our ability to love and to have mercy from one another. You guys are familiar with the Thailand cave thing? I mean, the humanity of that was really represented. I know we talked about this on Friday, so my bad. A couple Fridays ago, I think we talked about this. But a Navy SEAL from the Thailand Army lost his life trying to save other people. That wasn't his family. That wasn't his. Those weren't his friends. I'm not sure if he was being compensated for it, but he obviously did it because he felt like it was important enough to risk his life, and he lost his life for that. And from the Thailand perspective, he died as a martyr. But the humanity in ourselves. We were talking about the World Cup. Did you guys watch the World Cup? Rosary students? Not really. Soccer's not that popular in America. It's because Americans suck at soccer, right? If they win like the World Cup though, right? The Galaxy, right? If they win the World Cup though, I think soccer will take flight in the U.S. But we're just not good at it. But like for example, you had like the World Cup is an experience in of itself because there's really reflections on the beauty of different nationalities and ethnicities. And one of the things we talked about was the Japanese team when they would play. Anybody here have any Japanese in them? All right. When they would play, they actually helped clean the stadium after they played. And it's so beautiful because in Japanese culture, they respect elders. They're known for respecting elders a lot. The cleanliness factor is extremely important for them. But I heard they cleaned the stadium. They even cleaned the locker rooms. And we talked about the beauty in that, the fact that we believe from our perspective that God created us. And there's an explicit verse in the Quran. There's a verse in our holy holy book that says that God created us in different nations and in different tribes so that we can get to know one another, you know? And imagine how boring it would be if everybody was exactly the same exact ethnicity. We look the same, our noses look the same, our cheeks, everything was just the same. Imagine how boring life would be, you know? Imagine if somebody's just not into that, you know, that type of person, you know, then they would never be able to find someone that they could maybe love and get married to because everyone looks the same. It's like, I don't really have any options. But options are available. People look different. People have different manners too. People are built different. Some people are very firm in their personality. They're respectful, but they're firm, you know. Some people are a little bit loosey-goosey. They're just kind of always laughing and stuff. No problem with that. People are just different. And we take that as a miracle in that there's diversity in creation which allows us to function. Otherwise, life would be boring, you know? We talked about how, like, in the World Cup, you had, when Germany was eliminated by the South Korean team, the Mexican, the favorite people of Mexico became the South Korean people. And they were carrying them on their shoulders and, you know, they had those pictures from LA. They were just very happy. That's beautiful. Mexico and South Korea are very far from each other. Maybe they have little in common. But at the end of the day, they loved each other for something that was kind of cool, and they probably bonded. Maybe those two countries are going to sign some bilateral agreements to improve trade and, yeah. Oh, yeah? Nice. So there was already a relationship. That's awesome. Just look at that, you know. And there's so many examples of other types of people helping other types of people, and it all comes down to our humanity. And we believe as Muslims there is such thing as what's called a global human connection. God says in the Holy Book, in our Quran, that وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, which means that He has made the son of Adam, the human being, an honorable entity. We believe human beings are honorable in themselves, and that we believe all human beings need to have a certain level of respect and honor to them, you know? And the World Cup was cool. It just really displayed the humanity amongst each other. So that's what we talked about in the first session. Jamil, how long do we have this program for? Till 3 o'clock? Hakim? You stepped out? How long? Until 3 o'clock? Oh, 2:45, wrap it up? Okay. Sure. The other thing we talked about was this guy. You guys know what this guy is? It's a bee, right? Is it a bee or a wasp? It's a bee. Very good. We talked about the bee. The bee is interesting from the Islamic perspective. And my apologies if this looks like a biology class. It's not. But the bee is interesting because, number one, there's a chapter in the Quran called the bee. Surah Al-Nahl. Number two, there are references to the bee in the Quran which God asks us to reflect upon it. And I wanted to share some of those things. This is what we did in the second session. And the point of this, again, this series that I'm doing is to reflect upon those things that are around us with the objective of bringing us closer to God. Our Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we say that term in Arabic, which means may the peace of God be, the praise of God be upon him, and peace. He said that the believer is like a bee which eats that which is pure and wholesome, and lays that which is pure and wholesome, and when it lands on something, it does not break or ruin it. Our Prophet is telling us to be like the bee. And there's other actually examples of the Prophet using items in nature that we should emulate. Another one is like a palm tree, which maybe we'll do that another time. But being like the bee is interesting. When you look at the bee, you'll notice that, I don't know where the stats are, but long story short, basically the bee colony works in a way where everyone works together, they get pollen and they make honey. And in the process, when they land on these flowers, they don't actually destroy the flowers. So the moral of the story is they're very beneficial from all perspectives. And from our perspective as Muslims, we look at the bee, and number one, we have a humility and a humbleness. I was joking about making fun of all the animals. We shouldn't do that, obviously. We shouldn't kill. We don't believe we should be killing animals inhumanely. We do eat animals, so they have to be, slaughtered for that, for our burgers and chicken sandwiches and stuff. But we don't eat pork, of course, no pork. But for the other animals, we do eat them. But if you're not gonna do that to an animal for other than consuming it, then we shouldn't be killing stuff, right? But the bee is cool because it gives pure honey, and the lesson that we derived from that is, like the bee gives something that is pure, we should also strive to give things that are pure. Whether it's in our intentions, we should have pure intentions. We should never have a negative intention or have a desire to hurt somebody. Another thing is with our words. Muslims are they are taught to watch how they speak. Whether it's like we should avoid cussing and vulgar language and things like that. The bee doesn't, the bee comes out with pure stuff, so, as should we. And then also with our actions, we should not be people that are violent in nature, or people that are crude or disrespectful to others. And then also with gentleness, and from our perspective as humans, gentleness with time, respecting people's time. We don't want to consume people's times and waste their time, right? Also gentleness with people. As I mentioned with ethnicities, people are different, which means when we interact with humans, we should adjust the way we speak to someone based on their personality. Some people are, they have a personality where you can be blunt with them, so it's okay. It's like, hey man, in that game you weren't playing that good. You were kind of lazy. You weren't running back. Next time you need to run back. With other people, we may need to be a little bit more diplomatic, and that's fine because maybe they're more sensitive. Likewise, we should be gentle with people, and then of course being gentle with our environment. We can do a whole talk on Islam and the environment. Our perspective on the main thing would be wastefulness. Wastefulness is frowned upon in Islam, and that's related to environment. And many of you guys are familiar with what's going on in terms of global warming and the destruction of our beautiful world. So today's lesson, which we were going to focus on, is about this man allowing this old lady into the door. Figuratively speaking, it was going to be on the beauty of manners. And we'll just maybe dive into it now, and then I do this session once a month, and we'll continue next month as well. The beauty of manners. Pull up my notes here. When we think about manners, we would agree that manners is something that we're taught mainly at a younger age. Would we agree? Mainly at a younger age. Like, watch how you speak to people, or, don't, be nice, or let people in front of you. So manners is very important, and it's not something exclusive to being Muslim. We would all agree, for non-Muslims that are in the room, like, manners are important, right? And manners are something that are taught, And the cool thing about manners is it's really important. Mainly because, turn off my Wi-Fi here, mainly because as humans, we're always interacting with people. We're interacting with our family or our guardians, people that are taking care of us. We're interacting with if you guys are married, our spouses. So there's a different relationship between your spouse and your siblings in your family. Interacting with our friends. We're interacting with our teachers and our mentors and our scholars, people that we learn from, that we look up to. We're interacting with strangers, people you don't know. We're interacting with our neighbors. We're interacting with maybe governments, like people that are in charge, and things like that. And with each of them, from the Islamic perspective, there's actually advice that comes in regards to these different types of people. You know what I mean? And anybody that has bad manners, we can all agree, irrespective of our faith. Nobody wants to be around someone that has bad manners. It's not pleasant. No one wants to be around an unpleasant person who they're being unpleasant because they're choosing to have bad manners. So it's very nice. Our world would be very, very nice, pleasant, if everybody just had good manners. If everyone was like this man here in the blue jeans, helping this nice young old lady get into the door. And from the Islamic perspective, how do we view manners? It is so important that our Prophet Muhammad said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتِمَّمَ صَالِحَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Our Prophet Muhammad said that I was literally, the Arabic wording is, I was sent as a messenger to perfect manners. One of the main pillars of the concept of prophethood in Islam, having all these prophets, whether it's Muhammad or from our perspective Jesus or Moses or Abraham, the ones that we mentioned, we take them as role models. That's very important from our perspective. And we believe that it is human nature to have a role model. And I think we're taught in school. I remember I was taught in 3rd grade or something, please choose a role model. And I think the entire class chose like basketball players. So I think my role model growing up was like Gary Payton. You guys remember who Gary Payton is? I think his son's playing on the Lakers or something. Gary Payton II. Yeah. The former Seattle Supersonics, right? And I just remember, like, that's who our role models. As I got older, of course, I felt like having an athlete as a role model for the sake of sports is good. Like they're amazing players. But from my perspective, at least, it should have been a little bit bigger than that as I got older. But we have prophets. Our belief about prophets is they are our role models, and they teach us manners. You know, and you'll find stories of all these prophets in the Quran, and their manners with different people. So this is a very big statement from the Islamic perspective. Now to the Muslims, like manners is part of the religion. We don't believe religion is just praying and fasting and avoiding pork and avoiding, waiting to get married. Like these are laws that we believe are true, but having good manners is also part of the faith. And someone that does not have good manners is not complete in their faith. They should at least strive for good manners, right? In one of those chapters in the Quran that we wanted to address was chapter 49. And this is one of the more famous chapters because it deals with manners from multiple perspectives. So we talked about manners with all those different types of people, right? We talked about guardians and parents and all that stuff, strangers. But we also believe there's manners with God and there's manners with the prophets, learning from them. And I think if you don't mind, maybe I'll just recite some verses in Arabic so we could maybe hear them and then maybe go over the first verse and we'll call it a day. Do some Q&A. 2:45 Q&A and 3 o'clock we'll wrap it up. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll recite, and we'll go into depth next month with this. I'll recite in Arabic some of these verses just so we hear what the verses sound like. And then we'll go over the first verse and we'll call it a day. So the Quran, for those that don't know, is in the Arabic language. And so we believe it was revealed in the Arabic language to the final prophet, Muhammad. And till today, the Quran is only in the Arabic language. It can be translated into other languages, which it is for the sake of understanding. But in terms of the Quran and its preservation, we have been told by God that it will be preserved until the Day of Judgment. So we're in year 1438 right now. And until this day, there's no 9? I'm sorry. It is 9. Is it 9? Okay. And so till this day, there are no two. There's no two Qur'ans. Quran is one, and it's in Arabic. There's no second copy. There's just one copy, and it's the exact same book that's been around since it was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. And so the way that this Quran was preserved was anybody that recites it actually learns not only how to read Arabic, which is encouraged. You don't have to know Arabic to be Muslim, but it's encouraged because there are some things that you should read in Arabic in the Quran. But also there's a methodology in the flow of the way that you actually pronounce the words. This is a science called tajweed in Arabic, which is the science of reciting the Quran. And you don't read Arabic this way, you only read the Quran this way. So I'll just read a couple of verses and then we'll go over the first one. A little bit nervous because this is not what I do, but we'll give it a shot here. Sometimes when you say you're nervous, it's supposed to lower the nervousness. It's a social trick. It's like they say when you speak in front of people, act like they're all dressed like clowns or something so that you feel better. So I'm going to act like you guys are all dressed like clowns. Alright. So I'll recite it in Arabic and then I'll do a translation of it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم لبعض أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون إن الذين يغضون أصواتهم عند رسول الله أولئك beginning of the 49th chapter of the Quran. And this chapter is called the Rooms, which requires a longer story. But essentially, that first verse says, O you who have believed, do not put yourselves before Allah. Allah is the name of God in Islam. And His Messenger, but fear God, and indeed God is all-hearing and all-knowing. When you think about manners, you think about this concept of, I will act the way I want to act, right? So somebody takes your chair or something. You have a couple of options. You can come back and you can, the worst thing is you can physically assault them. Say, get off my chair, and like push them off. The second thing is you can start yelling at them, right? Maybe call them some bad names or something. The third thing is you can maybe just tap their shoulder and give them like a sign or something. The fourth thing is you can say, hey, excuse me, this is my chair. Do you mind if you get off? Or the fifth thing is you can just let them have the chair and find another chair so they can be comfortable. Point being is there's a series of options that you have. From our perspective, when it comes to manners, we look back and we ask ourselves, what is it that God taught us to do? What are the manners that we should have in regards to any event, time, or place? And that is how we start the chapter off. And God, one thing in Islam is God tells us about Himself through His attributes and His characteristics. One of the attributes of God is that He is all-hearing and all-seeing, meaning He sees everything that we do, and He hears everything that we say. And when a Muslim truly believes this, obviously, just like if you're taking an exam, you guys have taken an exam before? Right? You're sitting down, usually there's like a proctor, someone that passes out the scantrons. You guys still use scantrons? Really? Pencil? A, B, C, D, E? Bubble it in? Number juice pencil? Things don't change, huh? Things don't change. I graduated high school in 2002, man. Back when we were using like pigeons to communicate. So just like you know that somebody's looking at you when you're taking the exam, we believe it's the same thing. We believe this entire life is an exam. We believe God is watching us, and that He will reward us for those good things that we do, and He will keep us accountable for those bad things that we do, and that obviously throughout life we're supposed to ask God for forgiveness for those bad things. But priorities, that is really the benefit there. Our priority from the Muslim perspective is how does God want us to live our life when it comes to manners. And inshallah, God willing, next month we will, let's dive a little bit deeper into this chapter just so we can benefit from it more. I ask God to allow us to understand our life here in this world, and to be guided and to be happy people both in this world and in the hereafter after we pass away, which is inevitable. With that said, why don't we just have an open discussion? Let's have some Q&A. Get to know one another. Yeah. 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 Sure. Let's begin with the similarities. It's always good to get off on the right foot. Not that we're going to get off on the bad foot. So, yeah, the question is, could you explain the similarities and differences between Islam and the Judeo-Christian traditions? And just to clarify, so this class is every week. Sometimes the topics are different. But you guys do fundamentals. Is there like a cycle where the fundamentals are done? Right? Is it Sundays or? Oh, same thing, yeah. And so they have set people for that. But so the similarities are, so those faiths share a lot in common. The Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. And what they share in common, of course, is what they're called the Abrahamic faith. So there's a certain understanding that God is the creator, and that God sent prophets with books. And so I think we're all on the same page there. And that these prophets, I believe, I can't speak on behalf of both of those faiths, but generally speaking, there's like a Bible for Christians, and there's a Torah for the Jews, and both of those faiths still have a relationship with those texts, and they see them as a source of guidance. So there's a similarity in that we have the Quran, which is also our source of guidance. prophets, there's a lot of similarities there. Some of the ones that I listed, maybe some of you come from a Jewish or Christian background, you've heard of those prophets. And then there's also the concept of a hereafter, a day of judgment that occurs, and then there's going to be paradise and there's going to be hellfire, that those things exist, right? So that's where we have a lot in common. The difference is, from our perspective, and I'm just sharing, this is from the Muslim perspective. The Muslims feel, or our perspective is that, from the Jewish perspective, that they are very concentrated on what's called the letter of the law. Meaning that in Jewish faith today, there are a lot of different laws that the Jews have to ascribe to, and we have laws as well. However, when it comes to you have the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. When it comes to the Christian faith, our understanding is, for the most part, in Christianity, there are not a lot of set laws. That a lot of it is based on having a belief in Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior from the Christian perspective, and that through that belief that salvation is attained. We would agree that that is essentially the Christian understanding. So from the Muslim perspective, we look at both of those religions and we say that we believe that there is a book that has guidance in it and that we have to follow this guidance. And we believe that there's a faith in God that can be considered, it's not blind because we actually look at the evidences of God's creation. So there's a commitment there to understanding God through His creation. And you go back. The difference is, if we can go back to a main difference, is that we believe that our text is preserved and that it has not been changed. And from the Jewish and Christian perspective, we don't believe that today, from our perspective, we don't believe that today they have a text that has been preserved. So we believe that their text, the Torah and the Bible as it is today, have been changed. And that is, I would say, the main difference amongst the three faiths. And so Muslims take a lot of, their belief is very strong in that because, as I mentioned, our Quran is only one. It has not been changed till this day, nor will it be changed from our perspective. So we believe that our faith is something that has been preserved, whereas the other two faiths have been slightly changed by man. I don't know if that answers the question. But that's where we see the difference, yeah. But I'd love to answer any other questions. I know there are obviously a lot of misconceptions about Islam from our perspective, things that go on in the media, Fox News and things like that. I'm totally open to answering any questions. We don't have to be shy about that. We can talk about whatever it is you guys may have questions in. You guys have questions? Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. So, there's like a Jewish calendar. It's a couple thousand years old, I think. I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000. And the calendar we use today, the Gregorian calendar, is actually based, it's a Christian calendar, 2018. And I believe it starts, you guys can maybe tell me, I'm not sure if it starts after the Christian perspective of the resurrection or from his birth, but there's a direct relationship after, they call it AC, right, after Christ, that's what they call it. So it's a Christian calendar. The Muslims have their own calendar as well, so 1439, and that calendar starts from when the Prophet Muhammad made he traveled from the city of Mecca to Medina, and for Muslims, that's an important time because in Medina is the first time that Muslims were able to have their own state, meaning a state based on the laws of Islam. It was the first community. So that occurred 1439 years ago. So our calendar starts from that time. Yeah. And the Chinese, I think, have their own calendar as well. So many different faiths and cultures have their own calendar. Our calendar is 1439. Yeah. What questions do you guys have? I'm sure you guys have questions. Like, obviously, there's some things that are interesting in the room. I have facial hair. Maybe we've noticed with many Muslims they have facial hair. Sometimes some of the girls that are here are covering their heads. It's not hot outside, and they're indoors. So that's a question maybe. But you guys have any questions? Terrorism stuff. Muslims are always called terrorists. Were you guys scared coming here? We actually had a trap set up, but we pulled it last second because we got nervous. A trap, like a funny trap. Insensitive joke. Terrorism, that's a big one. short, daily Muslim life consists of the following. We pray 5 times a day because we feel like there needs to be a connection with our God. So there's 5 prayers a day, and they're spread out through time. There's one in the morning, one in the early afternoon, late afternoon, sunset, and then late evening. And each of those prayers takes about 10 minutes. So we believe that giving about 50 minutes of your time every day to God will actually increase your connection with Him and your guidance as well. So that's one thing that's important. The second thing, as she mentioned, is on Fridays we actually have a community sermon every Friday. And that sermon's is about like 35, 45 minutes, and it takes place where an individual will take the pulpit, he'll give like a reflection or he'll share some advice for about half an hour, and then we pray for 10 minutes. And that, we believe, there's a lot of benefits because it brings the community together. The entire community is together in the mosque, and we're all learning together, and then we get to socialize after and say hi to each other. So that's on Fridays. And then we have the month of Ramadan. You guys have heard of that before, where we fast. Every single year, like, without due, my coworkers ask the same questions, like, you can't eat or drink for 30 days straight? I'm like, no, man, we would die. You know? We just don't eat or drink for the daytime. And then unfortunately, many people pig out at night, even though we don't eat pig. But they eat at night a lot. So during Ramadan, we do that for 30 days. Once a year for the entire month, we fast as a community. Everybody fasts from sun up to sundown. And the objective of that is actually to get closer to God, because it is God who gives us water and drink. And that when we're deprived of that, there's a sense of humility and humbleness. And so the month, from our perspective, is used as like a spiritual camp, where you're supposed to just focus on God, because you can't eat or drink, and you re-engage with your holy book. And we do this as a community. We get together at night in the mosque. It's very festive. And then we have celebrations after that, where we eat a lot of food and celebrate. That's Ramadan. And then the Muslims also, once in their life, they have to go to Mecca, which is a holy city. Muslims have 3 holy cities: Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem. Those cities are very important to us spiritually, because we believe that there are mosques there that are very important to us, and we believe that we get rewarded for going there and praying and stuff. So once in the lifetime of a Muslim, assuming they can afford it and assuming that they have the health, they're supposed to go and do this pilgrimage called Hajj. And this is a series of rites and rituals that we believe were taught to us by Prophet Abraham, and that we do this as a global Muslim community. So everybody literally goes there and they wear the same clothes. So you can't tell who's rich or poor. Same, it doesn't matter what their ethnicity is. Everyone looks exactly the same. And we do these acts together in unity to glorify God. That is really the objective of the Hajj. It only takes like a week and a half. And from there, Muslims are supposed to do that once in their lifetime. And then we also have this thing in Islam called zakat, which is a mandatory charity for anybody that has extra money laying around. So if you don't have money laying around, you don't have to pay it. And we pay this once a year. It's like 2.5% of our extra money for savings. And that goes to a couple different categories. It goes to poor people. It goes to orphans. It goes to people that are needy. And it goes to some other categories. And this is our method of what's called purifying our money. So this way, that money goes to people that are needy of that money. And it gets spread throughout whoever needs it. It could be given to, it doesn't have to be given to like a Muslim country. We give it in America as well and other areas. Is that a good summary? Yeah. Any other questions? Come on, just one question. We cover like, how about the way we're dressed and stuff? You guys think that's weird? Guys have a dress code too. It's not just the girls in Islam. Guys have it too. So guys, for example, we have to cover from like our knees to our belly button. We're not supposed to show anything that's between that stuff. So if you see a guy wearing like really short shorts, that's not good from our perspective. It's kind of a weird thing to share, but it's just that's us too. And then for our girls, many Muslim girls wear the scarf, and this is because, from our perspective, modesty. You guys know what modesty means? Modesty is like difficult to translate because in our times it's kind of different. Modesty is basically having a sense of differentiating between men and women. Like, we believe there's a difference between men and women. That's right. Okay. If only a Muslim could live with all non-Muslims, then they would be, they would have an understanding. I have nieces, right? My nieces are my sister's kids, they're 12 and 9. They tell me they get called pretty like nasty names at school. Yeah, like terrorists and stuff. I'm serious. They don't like cover their hair or anything. They just, I guess, because we're a little bit lighter skin. Anything? Does that happen to you? Not really. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, no problem. No. Any other questions? Walid? No, I don't know what he said, but from our perspective, maybe he was talking about Palestine. So Jerusalem has Palestine in it. Jerusalem is in Palestine, and it's like a hot topic politically. Palestine, Israel, and stuff. You guys heard of those countries? Yeah. So Jerusalem's really important to us as Muslims, and from our perspective, we feel like there's a lot of oppression that takes place there. So maybe some comments were made in regards to the Israeli state and like Palestine and stuff. But no, man, we are taught to respect, we're taught to respect all human beings. As I mentioned, they are dignified by God, but there's a special relationship with Jews and Christians because they're in this category called the people of the book. So, for example, we eat the meat. So Muslims, for example, we can eat all meat except for pork, but our meat has to be, it can't be like dead. So our meat, as long as it was slaughtered by like a Christian, a Jew, or a Muslim, we can eat that meat. They hold a very special case. Muslims, of course, can marry Jews and Christians. The Muslim man can marry a Jew and Christian. It may be different in the United States. There is some, talk about that later, but generally speaking, that exists. But no, we love everybody, man, except for people that want to hurt us. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah. Mm. That's a good question. Is it a sin to talk about like current political events and stuff like that? No. No, it's not a sin to talk about those things. It's funny because in the Muslim world, like in the areas that are considered Muslim majority, there's just a lot of problems going on right now. Like a civil war in Syria and Pakistan. There was a really sad bombing yesterday. There's a lot of instability in the Muslim world, and we can maybe arrange a session with some specialists to talk about what happened. A lot of that is attributed to the past 100 years. There was colonization by European countries, and the people that they left in charge were paid, and there was a lot of dictatorships and stuff. But that's a long story. But no, we can talk about that stuff in the mosque. I think what you'll find, though, people don't want to talk about politics in the mosque because they already talk about that stuff at home, and they hear about that stuff with the news. And people are trying to come to the mosque to get closer to God and to feel at peace. And if we open up those topics all the time, and also people have different opinions, so it's not like with politics things are never black and white. So like, oh, these people shouldn't have done that, or they should have done that. So the mosque is not typically a place of non-stop argumentation over political stuff. But like our leaders will make, they'll ask God to grant success and peace to those areas. They'll reference those things in prayer. But usually a special. We've had programs about Palestine and stuff, but those are usually special. But if you get into politics, everyone has different opinions, so it gets bogged down, Yeah. Yeah. The don't eat pork one. So we don't eat pork. I believe the Jews also don't eat pork. Um, the pork one's a simple one because from our perspective, it's just a simple commandment. God told us not to eat pork, so we don't eat pork. And I understand later there's some scientific evidence that pork has there's some concerns about it. But from our perspective, we would not use the science to justify the ruling. So in other words, we don't say we don't eat pork because it's not healthy. We say we don't eat pork because God told us not to eat pork. And that's one thing actually I forgot to mention. The whole concept of Islam, this word Islam, is it means submission. So Islam is to submit to God. A Muslim is a word that's conjugated from the Arabic term, which means a submitter. A submitter. A Muslim is a submitter, someone who is submitted to God. You know. So because God told us not to eat pork, we just don't eat pork. But we have beef pepperoni. It tastes good. I don't know what pork pepperoni tastes like, but gets the job done. Is it better? Okay, you've had both, right? Yeah. Jamal, we need to get some beef pepperoni, man. You know? Beef bacon and stuff. We have turkey bacon, beef bacon. I mean, we make it work. You know? I'm joking. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not. I have a very religious Christian friend at work. I think I don't even want to quote him, but I'm not sure. I'm sure they have a reason. Hmm. Yeah. 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 It's funny. We have a lot of people that converted to Islam. Pork and alcohol. Obviously, it's part of just growing up with your families. You know. Um, and I'm sure it's hard to just stop those things. They probably think that you're offending them. But yeah, we don't drink alcohol. We don't drink, we don't eat pork. That's pretty much it. From the things that we can't do. Obviously, you have to wait till marriage. You have to get married before doing anything. Um, you know, what else? That's pretty much it. Yeah. I like Waleed, man. I like how he laughs a lot and smiles. It's good to have. It's good to be positive nowadays. You know, most people are always frowning. My wife gets mad at me because unfortunately, when I'm not smiling or frowning, it just looks like I'm frowning, but I'm not frowning. It's just who I am. So she makes me do this a lot at home so that it doesn't look like I'm frowning. But Waleed, mashallah, beautiful man. Our Prophet actually told us to smile a lot. Smiling in Islam is a charity. When you smile in the face of somebody, it's a charity. Because everyone likes a smiling face, you know? No one wants some like Debbie Downer, someone that's just always frowning and stuff, you know? So we have to be happy people. All right. Well, thank you very much for having me this afternoon. Thanks to our guests from Rosary and their leaders that came and visited us. I hope this was beneficial. Sorry if I offended anybody or was not clear on any topics or anything like that, but everybody's welcome to come back, and I'd like to call Jamal back to the stage here.
Adam, thank you so much. Maybe a round of applause, a round of hands, applause for Adam. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We try to every